Okay. Okay, everybody's coming in now. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
I think you're on mute, Larry.
Yeah, you're muted, Larry.
Okay. Sorry about that. Technology. I think this is the group, Alex, because Stephen and Heather will both not be with us this evening, but I see everyone else present. So I think
Is Tom on the call?
yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Tom
I'm
is on. Okay. All right.
Great. Do you want to do a roll call then, Larry?
Yeah, great. So good evening, folks. It's St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. This is the meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust for the month of March. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And we'll go around and I'll introduce myself. I am the chair of the trust, Larry Oakes. And why don't you go next, Deanna?
Deanna Fay, member of the trust.
Great. Tom?
Tom Morgan, member of the trust.
Great. Bob?
Bob Gillis, member of the trust and treasurer.
Great. MJ?
MJ Boylan, member of the trust.
Great. And then that brings us to you, Alex.
Alex Kalbin, I'm the Community Development Director and the Mayor's designee to the trust.
Great. And then Peter is not a trust member, but Peter, say hello.
City of Gloucester, Grants Administrator, Housing.
Great. Welcome.
At least Peter's wearing some green for crying out loud.
I know. Good for you.
What's up with the rest of us?
I have green underneath.
I've got a little green in my collar. That's all I can do.
My green Bucky's St. Patrick's Day shirt.
There you go.
Green is in my blood.
Yeah, me too.
Great.
So, Alex, I'll start by saying that so this opens the meeting. Welcome, folks. Start by saying we're now on a 2-month schedule. We're going to try to stick to that. So it's been a bit of time since we've met, and we've got a pretty short agenda. But we did hold open kind of new business as an item for discussion, and one of those, it may not have made the agenda, new business items explains Pete's presence, I think, to talk about a project that has some potential interest in seeking support from the trust that kind of came across our bow last week. So Peter is joining us to talk about that. And I think Alex can help with the setup on that. And then I think backing up from that, the first agenda item for tonight is really to get a discussion going and a review of Alex's edits on the funding program document, which includes a description of the trust's primary funding program, which we all drafted last year, and the application for same with the rating and ranking criteria, right? All of which we based on the ARPA application that we approved and used last year, to get that review process wrapped up and complete so we can post that funding program document to the Affordable Housing Trust's site and allow folks to start bringing in potential fundable projects to us after we get it posted. So, Alex, do you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, I can walk through it. I mean, I'll just start by saying thank you, Diana, for adapting the ARPA application for a general rolling application. I didn't see the need for any major changes, but I did make some suggestions that I thought we could discuss. And then once we do that, we can get it up on the website, right after the meeting, and that'll allow us to accept general applications, as we know that there are some to be made and one that we'll discuss with Pete this evening. So the first document is the funding application package, and the suggestions I made here on the first page is letters of financial commitment. I just added support as well in case that there's an organization that would like to offer just a general statement of support, even if they're not making a financial contribution. Um, so that's kind of a simple thing. And then the environmental reports, I saw that this is something that other affordable housing trusts look for as well, just to give any information on the need for environmental remediation or if there's any kind of flooding concerns. I think it's kind of on par with other um, funding sources. Like for instance, when we go for home consortium funds, there has to be an environmental review. So I think it would be good to ask them to provide any of that information if they have it. And then the last one is to ask for a pro forma. So I think having all the sources and uses of funding as a statement is great, but to have an actual projection of how the finances for the project look in total, I think will help us and when we're assessing how the trust funds will be used, so we can be confident that they're being used the best way possible.
I think those are great additions. I think great. Does anyone else? I think others should just feel comfortable. Just speak up as Alex walks us through what he's suggesting we add or drop.
Yeah,
But
I agree
those,
that
those make sense.
I agree with those changes. Yeah.
Then, no change there. Moving right along, so I added a section for other funding sources to ask the applicant if they've applied for community preservation funding or other municipal funding sources so that we can know that. It's something that I think came up in our last round of ARPA awards where we were just putting more thought into making sure we're coordinating between the CPC and the trust. And as that relationship between the two entities continues to grow and we continue to ask for CPC allocation each year, I think it'll just be a good practice to ask the applicant to tell us whether they have applied, if they've been awarded any funds or not. And then we'll be able to easily have that information factored into our decision. And then just to see if they have any state or federal funding sources as well. I think as a trust, we would love to see any dollars that we're putting into a project be leveraged by state or federal funding.
I think that's great too. A great addition. Anyone else?
No, I just want to be clear that there's nothing preventing someone from being awarded housing trust funds if they've also been awarded CPC funds, correct? I mean, a lot of entities will apply for both and be funded by both. There's nothing that says that if you've received CPC funds, you cannot then get affordable housing trust funds.
No, I mean, I think if it's a really,
should that be made clear somewhere?
I think, in this section of the application, it's just asking for the information to make sure like we have it up front.
Mhm.
But no, I think it's something where if it's a really impactful project that the city wants to support, those are two funding sources that can be used for it. I
Mhm.
think we do want to be mindful though that if we're also taking CPC funds
Mhm.
from their housing bucket and putting it into the trust, that we do want to understand, how much funds from each bucket are being used. And I think it would be projects that are the most impactful that we would want to provide funding from both sources. But that's also, coordination with the CPC.
Mm.
Okay, so then the other addition here was just to describe briefly any environmental factors with the site, like if there's wetlands or flooding concerns or other conditions that they would reference in any kind of environmental reports. Just briefly summarize them here so that we can be aware of it right up front.
I think that's great.
Environmental factors. I wonder if you might want to just expand on that a little bit so that it's, you know, I just wouldn't want you to ask a question that would be easy to dodge, you know, you know what I'm saying? Environmental factors. I mean, people could decide something is not a factor.
Yeah, it could ask about specific things like are there wetlands on the site? Is it in a flood zone?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so just be more distinct about what
Yeah.
information we're looking for.
I mean, someone could say there's no flooding, but what if it's in a flood zone? Maybe we want to know that, you know, and that's knowable. Yeah.
It's a good point.
Aren't those, I mean, in order to get a building permit, you have to adhere to environmental requirements, correct? So wouldn't it be in alignment with whatever is required from the building department?
Don't know.
Well, yeah, it's something that comes up in permitting, and again, I just thought it would be good to have the information all together when we receive the application, so we're not kind of digging around to see, oh, is that going to be a factor later on?
Well, I'm
Alex,
just wondering what language they use in their permitting application for,
Okay,
you know what I mean? Maybe it's the same language or something
yeah,
similar.
we can mirror that language. Yeah, I like that idea.
Good
I
idea.
was going to say, maybe we could say environmental disclosures and then say, instead of saying briefly summarize, say disclose any environmental factors.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like
How
that.
about
Perfect.
that?
All right.
Environmental disclosures. Then you could say disclose any environmental factors such as remediation, wetlands, flooding, or other conditions that are referenced in environmental reports, if applicable, that impact this project or could potentially impact this project.
Or the permitting of this project.
Yeah.
I think there's another section in the other body of the document that refers to environmental factors as well, or something similar.
For environmental reports. So this was kind of referencing back to that as like, could you basically let us know what reports you have and what you're submitting? Okay. And then this is just also a reference from the same thing above. And so are these. So nothing else new here. So that's the general funding package. Nothing major. And then we have the funding guidelines. So the first few pages are pretty straightforward. Then we come down to talking about the types of projects that will award funds to: site acquisition, pre-development, and development funding. Site acquisition and pre-development, only non-profit developers are eligible for those. And then the development funding is available for nonprofit and for-profit developers. I thought it would be good to clarify that if you're a for-profit developer, to be eligible for this, you need to exceed local or state regulatory requirements for affordable housing and demonstrate how the funding will be used in a pro forma, so that, you know, it's not someone who's just going to meet inclusionary zoning or 40B requirements, but they're doing more than that, and that's why we want to support the project.
I think that's a good addition.
Works for me.
Here.
Yep, good.
Right, and then funding priorities, I just added proximity to transit and avoid environmentally sensitive areas. It was kind of consistent with smart growth principles.
Yeah, I got a little stuck with the environmentally sensitive description, and I mean, you have a lot of local people who are, you know, describing areas as being wetland when they're not technically a wetland, or, you know, it's some sort of green area when it's not necessarily designated in those ways. So can we make that a little bit more specific so that and maybe this is where it mirrors the building permitting requirements as well.
Could we
Just
say,
so,
could we say, instead of and avoid environmentally sensitive areas, say and avoid designated environmental, something about, use the
Yeah.
word designated and
Yeah, the only other thing would be to have a list of definitions in the document somewhere.
mm,
I just want to be able to differentiate between sort of like, like what's factual and what's opinion kind of thing around.
Yeah, upper and
What's
lower
a sensitive
case,
area.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
think I
maybe it's,
agree with that, what MJ is saying, just because if you say designated, like who designates that, right? So
Yeah.
I think some definition would be helpful.
yeah.
Yeah, I think though it is best to just refer to whatever regulations are in place. So we could talk about the floodplain regulations or areas regulated through the Wetlands Act.
Mhm.
Okay. I can do that. I can make that
Okay.
adjustment.
By the way,
Okay.
Alex, right? One of the things we talked about last year was like, right, if you go away and there's you have any you're not quite 100% sure that we approved you to say a particular thing on this application. We've all agreed it's a living, breathing thing. We could edit and revise it at a later date if we agreed to do that. So if there's
Yeah, of
something
course.
you put up that we think after we look at it doesn't quite reflect what we said, we can change it. This
No,
group
of
can
course.
vote to do that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, here it's just a clarification that just not really clarification, but just specifying again that we want to fund units that are 60% AMI or lower. I added, and this is on the table for discussion, but I thought, it should be more of a priority if there's a recommendation that specifically implements recommendations from one of our policy documents, like the housing production plan, the comprehensive plan, or other relevant documents.
Makes sense.
I thought we had that in there, but yeah, that's definitely true.
It's referenced in the selection criteria,
Mm.
the housing production plan.
Okay.
So here, development feasibility and project readiness, following along the lines of just being mindful of other, challenges involved in the site, is that to say the applicant can demonstrate the ability to address environmental concerns like flooding or any other kind of remediation. Because I think this really gets at the feasibility of the development, like site control and having enough funding and getting zoning and approvals and things. But maybe, this is addressed as a part of that and this is redundant, but I put it out there for discussion.
Yeah, I think this is another area where it's all a requirement of the building permitting. So maybe it's just some reference to, other building requirements have been, met or something.
Okay, so we'll just handle this the same way. It's kind of the same thought being carried forward.
Yep.
Okay.
By the way, Alex, can I just interject as we look at this section? One of the things that occurred to me after we drafted this is that we don't say, I believe, in this document that a minimum required number of points must be achieved in order to be considered for funding. So the points do add up to 100. If you go over to the left, the maximum possible points. I guess it's a question for the group. Do we want to explicitly establish a minimum number of points that an applicant must achieve in order to be considered for funding, like say 70 or more, or do we not want to do that? The usefulness of the points in the ARPA round was to compare to other applicants and be able to rank them. But with a standalone application, it might make sense to establish a minimum number of points, below which you would be considered ineligible.
Yeah, I support.
I think that
I
makes
think
sense. I do. Just a
Good point
question of
there.
what you set for a floor, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea as well, because you're not having a situation with ARPA where you've got this period of time that people are submitting applications, but it's a rolling application. You know, it's kind of like whoever comes in first might eat up all the funding or a lot of it.
Mhm.
Yep.
I just threw out 70 because it's what we've all lived with as students in our lives to the degree we were students, right? Like if you got below that, you were in trouble. But 7 out of 10, 7
That's
out of
right.
10 is kind of like a universal.
I don't know. I feel like you've got to be an A student to get these resources.
Well, maybe we could circle back to it after we finish looking at your edits in this section. Think about that, everybody.
Yep, yep.
All right. So yeah, the last one here was the same thought before about if you're a for-profit developer, you got to demonstrate how you're using the funds in a pro forma.
Mhm.
Just the same thing reiterated under financial feasibility. Other housing objectives, the area about you know, just additional things that would be good to see. I just added inclusion of spaces to benefit members of the general public, talks about the local workforce. I'll put artists in here as well. It's you know, from working with the Committee for the Arts and going through the comprehensive planning process, I think there's a good similar level of need for affordable housing of artists and workspaces and other community benefits. And I think a lot of times the two things can actually be pitted against each other. So it'll be nice to just have some communication that, you know, this is all a good thing to have.
That's a good call.
Yep.
And see, that's the end of the chart. So those last two 5-point categories give you a total of 100 possible points. Does anyone have a suggestion other than my 70-point suggestion?
I mean, I'm fine with 70 or 75. It's basically a floor. You just don't, it has to be at least that. But you could have some potentially good projects that come in around 75 or 80. So I mean, I'm fine with either 70 or 75 myself.
And so are we
Thank-
saying that it has
As a
to have,
minimum.
yeah,
At a
as
minimum.
It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to fund it, but
Oh, no.
but to be funded, you have to have that many
Right.
points.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So if somebody came in and they, you know, and they presented a project that just got, you couldn't make it achieve 50 points no matter how you looked at it. That's a loser. That's not going to get funded. But that sounds right? If the project, say for example, gets a 0 in all of those categories on the second page, we wouldn't likely want to fund it. It wouldn't meet our criteria. So yeah,
Right.
to Bob's point, it's like if you get above the minimum, then you're in the game. Then I suppose if there are two projects simultaneously in for funding and we have an issue with how much funding there is available, to Alex's point, then we could use the comparison approach between two ranked projects and look at them in relation to each other. But otherwise it would just be, okay, so you meet that minimum, we could talk about funding them at that point.
Of course, you know, you can meet the minimum. I mean, we could deal with this, you know, in an ad hoc way as the issues come up, but if something could meet the minimum, but one of the, some of the criteria that are missing might be just so fundamental that it would not be a good project. So, I mean, people shouldn't I mean, again, to Bob's point, it's a floor. It doesn't, you know, it merits consideration. It doesn't necessarily indicate qualification for funding, because there could be
Right.
just
Right.
too many important things left out. you
Right.
know?
I agree.
That's a good point, MJ. If somebody got a 76 and we established 75 as the floor, we want to be clear, Alex, I think in the application that it doesn't, achieving the minimum score doesn't guarantee that you'll be funded.
Mhm.
It's required in order to be considered. It doesn't mean you will be.
Okay.
I mean, somebody could come in with a plan that's not fully developed in some aspect, and we could make recommendations that they can then go back and develop further,
Well, that's
reapply.
always an option, yeah.
reapply, right? So it doesn't, it doesn't say that they may never get funded.
That's right.
Okay.
And the reason that I suggest that is because, we've included individuals as an option for applicants. So, I would expect a developer or a nonprofit organization to be a little bit more skilled in putting forward applications like this, but perhaps an individual might not. So we want to have a little bit of room for people to know that they can revise things.
And the timing just may not be right to say like, hey, it seems like you might want to work on these few things and come back to us because you're going to be more competitive. You're going to score higher if you can do this, and you come in at this time when you're, closer to getting in the ground.
Mhm.
Anyone else
well-
have a view about the point question, the 70, the 75?
I mean, I'm not sure we have to. I'm not entirely sure that we have to say a floor or a minimum. I mean, these are the scores that we're looking for. So I would say that these are the scores that we would like to see and be as close to as possible. And I think somebody would understand that, but maybe not.
I mean, I guess another option is, if we took away the points, because we're no longer, so we did develop the points to Alex's point, when we used a
Comparison.
time-limited NOFA approach with a 3-month window, and we figured we'd get multiple applications chasing a fixed amount of money. We needed a way to rate them relative to each other. There's nothing that says we have to have a point system in this rolling application. We could instead just describe selection criteria. It's just that if we're going to try to assign kind of some sort of expression of how sound the application was, or whether it meets the criteria, giving points was a way to do that, to sort of like sum it up. This was a 75. This is a 95. This hits all of our points. This doesn't.
It was helpful for us as we were reviewing applications, the ARPA applications. I found it really helpful to come up with some sort of, percentage of points.
Yeah, I think it'll help with decisions about how much to fund a project too. Like if they're scoring close to 100,
Right.
justify more.
I say we keep them, but
Don't assign a floor.
I'm not entirely sure how we define them as,
That could
a
just
goal,
be
a
kind
goal.
of an unofficial thing that we think about, like, oh, this isn't even at a 70. Should we really be even discussing it?
Oh, I'm comfortable with that. We can always add a floor later if, as we get into this, we think we need it.
Yep.
And everyone agree with that? Does that feel right?
That's fine.
Okay.
So, while we're talking about funding things, I know that
So
we
wait,
wanted,
Alex, was that the end of your edits?
Oh,
yeah,
can I
not
just
very
go,
extensive.
can I go back to one thing? The alignment with the housing production plan and the scoring table.
Yep.
Can we change that to maybe goals instead of plan? Because we're referencing multiple plans, not just the housing production plan.
So goals and relevant policy documents, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, where it says alignment with housing production plan, and then in the description, we're listing the HPP and the comprehensive plan and any other relevant document. So instead of saying alignment with the housing production plan, just say, alignment with housing production goals or something.
So
Are you talking
so
about,
it's more universal, you mean, not,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it includes all of the other plans that we're referencing in the description and not just the housing production plan.
so are you talking about right here?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so
On
it's
in the middle column,
oh, okay, gotcha, in the middle column. That's why I was like, where does it say alignment? All right.
just take out plan and write
Yeah.
goals or
With
vision or whatever.
alignment with goals of city plans and policies. Okay, yeah. All right, so anything else on this?
And then Alex, I was going to say, I think we should entertain a vote now then to approve this, subject to your final edits, which you will make, so that it's approved and voted on by the board and able to be posted for the public. Can we do that tonight? I think we should.
Like we would accept it with the changes that we've noted.
Yeah, I guess that's what maybe I wasn't being clear before. I would feel comfortable turning Alex to do the final edits that he's reviewed with us tonight, to conclude them, finish them, and post this if we took a vote to approve this, subject to those final edits he'll make. We'll all see them then when it's finalized and up. If there's something we think wasn't quite captured, exactly as we approved it this evening, we reserve the right to make future edits to the document. Of course, because it's ours, we created it through that process. But I think we should, if we can, take a vote tonight to approve this so we can go forth and get it up. That would be wonderful. Alex, does that feel okay to you?
That sounds good.
Yeah. Everyone, I mean, I
So
would
moved.
entertain a motion by someone to, what's this document actually called? I want to refer to it correctly for our minutes.
It is the Gloucester Affordable Housing
Yep.
Trust funding guidelines and the Gloucester Affordable Housing Trust funding application package.
Great. So does someone have a motion to approve the Gloucester Affordable Housing Trust funding application package as discussed this evening, including the edits that Alex will make after this meeting to finalize it and post it on the website for the city of Gloucester?
So moved.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yay, that's a big accomplishment. We have a funding program we can post. Wonderful. Thank you all.
I actually, I have a little note to myself and I forgot to ask it, around the turnaround timing for this. So do we need to say, how much time would elapse between submitting an applicant to review and decision making?
Well, I think we're on the every 2 month schedule now for meetings. So if an applicant were to submit an application tonight, we would meet again in May, right? So April, May. I mean, I don't know if we need to say it, but I think our expectation as a group is we would take these on a rolling basis, and from one meeting to the next, review them and take action by the next meeting. I don't see any reason we couldn't do that.
I agree with that.
Makes sense to me.
sure.
Okay.
Okay. So Alex, I apologize. It's not easy for me to look back at the agenda, but we want to move our agenda forward this evening. What's our next item here?
Yeah,
you-
so it was actually just to look at the trust funds that we have now, and I've requested this information from the CFO, and they're at a point in the budgeting process where they can't give us the official accounting, but they actually will be able to do that in a couple of weeks. But I can, and I can give that to you, Bob, so that you can take account of it and monitor it moving forward. But I can let you know an estimate of what we have tonight.
That's great. That's great.
Okay. So we actually do know that there's $205,000 in the trust right now. but there is going to be an addition of funding from the short-term rental fee.
Yep.
So that's estimated at around 144,000. And then I believe there should be the award from the CPC. How much was that for?
That was
Was
a
it 100?
105, I think.
Right,
Okay.
okay, 105.
So with that, yeah, you're around about 340, 450 about.
Great.
That's great. And Alex, I don't know if it's on the agenda or not, but right, you and I confirmed that the city did at long last distribute the 200,000 or disperse the $200,000 award that this trust made to the Y for the Jack Meany apartments a number of years ago. The city did disperse that trust funding earlier this year. So the 450 that we've just estimated is available to the trust does not include that 200,000 which went out to the Y. That was sort of encumbered money, if you want to call it that, that was sitting in a city account for a couple of years, and that the Y now has that funding, which is great.
Yes.
And, I just point out that I think since I've been on the trust, I think we've had 2 or 3 other disbursements from short-term rentals, and none of them have been as high as 144,000. So it's just, increasing each year. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Right, right.
I'd,
Good for us.
I'd say it's bad.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So Alex, so
Sure.
let me also add this. So we've got $440,000, it sounds like, at the moment, which is wonderful. And since we met 2 months ago or whenever it was that we last met, I did, on behalf of the trust, get our single 1-page required submission to the CPC in on time. That was a couple of weeks back, to set the stage for us again this summer to request an additional award from CPC for the coming year. And I put in for $300,000, which is close to the maximum they have for affordable housing for the trust. So hopefully we're successful in getting that full application approved through CPC later this year. That would add to the 450, next year. So that's a good thing.
That's
Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's best practice for the trust to be able to use those funds, since we can have a rolling application window like we've set up here this evening, whereas CPC, you got 2 times a year you can apply. So
That's all good. Thank you for that update on the numbers, Alex. Appreciate that. Any questions
you.
on that for Alex or for Bob as our treasurer? Anyone? Okay, what's next on our agenda, Alex?
So it's just general updates from staff, and we have a situation occurring that I asked our grants manager, Peter Williamson, to come and tell us a little bit about, as we expect it'll probably be an application that comes to the trust. So I'll hand it over to you, Pete.
Evening. A couple of months ago, someone I know called me and said that they were having some structural issues at 37 Washington Street, which is a fully 100% affordable housing unit, 8 units, 8 condos. It ended up being not structural, but it is dangerous. The front, a few years ago, they had some water leaks. I'm assuming, because I know the roof was changed. And I think it rotted off the pins on the front facade. So the bricks are coming off the front of the building. Structurally, it's fine, but it's a safety hazard. And at some point, if it gets bad enough, the building will be condemned. So in order to keep the units affordable, they came to me to see if there was any money available that I could help with. At the time, we didn't have any. And as you all know, my money is usually in the form of a loan. But there are 3 or 4 tenants there that are in their 80s and 90s. There's no way to pay that back. Putting a loan on these properties would be inhibited. You wouldn't be able to do them because they're deed restricted. So we'd put them all underwater. So I was looking into our CDBG program, and we can use funding for structural damage to keep affordability, that kind of thing. But we can't be used as a rehab loan. It has to be used as economic development grant. And I don't know that we have the full amount. If structurally it would have been 400 or 500,000, but it's where it isn't 100% structural. It's about 200,000. They will have to evaluate if some of the windows are damaged. At this point, I went out with the building inspector. It doesn't look like that. It looks like the bricks are just coming off. So all the bricks would have to be removed and put back up and reattached to the frame. So I guess what we want to know is, do you guys have any money to help?
Can you repeat what you said about the leak? So did the roof get repaired?
Yeah, the roof got replaced about right before COVID, I would
But
say.
you think that they could have window damage too?
Well, what happened is I think the water went in between the sawn timber construction and the brick facade, and it rotted away whatever holds the brick on.
But fixing the bricks, would that like fix the whole problem? Even
yeah, it would. As the
the
bricks pull away, they're gonna get to a certain point where they're gonna break windows and dislodge windows. It's not very far right now. It's probably an inch and a half on some spots, but it's gonna progressively get worse.
Pete, can I ask a couple of general questions just to
Yep.
back up for a second so the board gets this? Be sure people get it. This is also known as the Forbes School, right? So this is a former city school property that was converted in the 90s, as I understand it, into
right by Harbor Light. Yep.
Yeah, 100% affordable condo development. It's 100% occupied. It is managed by Harbor Light, as you just said, and the project has some reserves for capitals, but not much at the moment, is what I understand. Is that right? Do you know about that?
As far as my program?
No, I think the project itself, the condo association, the property or the development, right? One of the things that I wondered when I first heard about this last week is, does this project have a capital reserve account that it has funded itself through homeowners contributing over the years? I think the answer is they do, but it's been depleted and there isn't very much in the way of funding in that fund.
Right. They've had a few things come up. Also, you said Harbor Light manages it. They really don't. The condo association reached out to Harbor Light and they said basically once they turned it over to the condo association, they're on their own.
Oh, okay, great. That's great to clarify.
Yeah. But you said that Harbor Light was managing it, and that was going to be my question. If these are all condos that are occupied by owners, what is Harbor Light's role now?
Yeah, no,
it doesn't. Harbor Light doesn't have a role now, except that it manages sale and pricing and that kind of thing.
Aren't they the landowner? They're the landowner.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yes,
they are.
That's right, Deanna. That's right. If I can review this very
please,
quickly.
Bob, please.
This will help. Okay. Harbor Light, and this is from Andrew DeFranza, who is the executive director of Harbor Light. And just as a reminder, of course, I can't vote on anything that has to do with Harbor Light, so I would have to abstain on any vote that was taken on this, if there was one. So from Andrew DeFranza, it says, if it helps, I want to confirm our involvement. Harbor Light owns the land, as Deanna just said, but the condo owners own their own unit.
Okay.
Harbor Light bought one of the units last year as an unusual move to protect a current resident. There was a resident living there who actually there were notices, foreclosure notices. They were in default and they were close to getting their unit foreclosed. And Harbor Light moved in to prevent that from happening, because once a unit is foreclosed based on the condo docs and the deed restrictions, then the deed restrictions go away once there's a foreclosure. And that's something that lenders put in place. They didn't want to go ahead lending on these projects unless they knew that if there was a foreclosure, they could sell it at market. And of course, Harbor Light doesn't want any of these properties to be available in the open market. They want the deed restrictions to remain. So Harbor Light bought this unit, and the previous owner is now a tenant of Harbor Light. So the previous owner gets to stay in the unit, and Harbor Light owns it actually. So that's one. And then it says, to Pete's point, the Harbor Light signs off on the resales in terms of the price based on a formula and the eligibility of a buyer. So again, to Pete's point, Harbor Light does not have an operational role in the condominium.
That's really helpful, Bob. Appreciate that. And
Um,
those were my questions, Pete, too. I just wanted to get that basic information out to the group.
Right. And I think I got the same letter as you, Larry, you know, just a broad overview of what was going
Yeah.
on.
So I have a couple of questions too. I don't know if you can answer this, Peter, or not, but just looking up that property, is it true that that was the original city hall in Gloucester?
I think it was a school
Before it
and,
was
and,
the
and a
school?
city hall. Yeah, I looked it up 2
So
months
there's
ago.
probably like historic value to
Nope.
it? How can it
No.
not? How can it
It's
not be a historic
it's
building?
not, it's just not on the Macros website. It falls into a general neighborhood area, but as a building by itself, it's just not.
So that must be the same thing for the Action Building next door.
Yeah.
That's an old.
I haven't specifically
whatever it
looked
is.
at that, but that would be my
Yeah.
guess.
Yep, okay,
Wow.
yeah, I know.
I think even like with the Gloucester 400th, you think that that building might have been like, pointed out or something, but
If we could get these buildings on historic register, they could receive historic tax credits.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right,
And other funding.
Yep.
exactly.
So
Yep.
Pete, can I ask you, how much money do you estimate the city might have available through CDBG for this project if it were to be considered?
So we just got informed last week, Alex, right? That we were getting our
We just got informed that we got our HUD funding, which normally happens in what,
September,
September of
August,
previous year.
September for 2024.
Deposit it really quickly.
It's not in there yet, where I check every day. We don't know what's going to be happening obviously in 2025. So I mean, I would have to discuss with Alex. I think we're talking about altering the program too, to not do as many big projects, to try to spread the money around and do smaller projects, roofs, windows, that kind of thing. No more, no more handicap accessibility as far as changing bathrooms to walk-in showers, that kind of thing. So, I mean, if I had to educate a guess, maybe around 100,000, more or less.
Yep. And the need is more like 200,000. I mean, I realize I have an estimate, but if we do a little allowance.
Yeah, I would do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
A little over.
Right. So does anybody, I mean, from a housing preservation perspective, it feels like a good candidate for the trust to consider. It sounds like some immediacy to the need for them to get certainty on what they're going to do. So there's that too. Like, how quickly could we, the application we just reviewed would be a place for them to start, but we've got to get it up, and we won't meet again till May. Does it feel like this is something we don't know that could wait until a May meeting to give the Harbor Light or the group or whoever it would be that time to apply and for us to review? I guess that's a question just that I have. I don't know that you can answer that, Pete. That's maybe more for them and their engineer. Can this wait?
Also, Pete, before you answer that, the construction bid that came through, is that like a bid that the CBDG could accept? Is that like a preferred vendor kind of thing? Because don't you have to go off a vendor
there's
list?
some background stuff we would have to do. I'd have to check the government federal website, make sure they're not disbarred or anything like that.
Okay.
So I think I don't think we could do it any quicker than May anyways, even if they applied. I think we don't want it to go another winter though. That's my big worry. Even if it goes into October, doing the construction November, I don't think it can handle another winter.
Do you know how long the estimated timeline for completion of the project would be if they were to start it? Does it say that on that estimate? I don't recall.
I don't recall either.
Okay.
No, I don't think it does, Larry.
Okay. So that would be good to know too.
It
But
does
but
say,
I would tell you this, you know, some of you got this letter, NER, um, NER Construction Management, and they've been around for a long time. I know, the bank that I work for used them. So I think they're, as far as I know, they're reputable. But um, in this letter, NER said they did stress the importance of getting the work done quickly. The front facade of the building could come down, causing damage not only to the building, but possibly to vehicles or passersby, which is concerning to us all. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, that's my big concern, that someone's going to get hurt because
Right.
it surrounds the main entrance on both sides of the main entrance.
Yep.
they also state that the proposal is valid for 45 days. So with, ex potential pricing and
Yep.
construction stuff increases,
Yep.
the sooner they get this secured, the better they are.
I shared this with Larry, if I could take a minute, with you all. This was something that Andrew, thought of as a possibility that, we could do, and I'm assuming we can, but just as a possibility, we could do a loan, with Affordable Housing Trust, whatever the case may be. We could do a loan to each one of the, unit owners, which would be like a soft second loan in your program, Pete. It doesn't have to be repaid until the property is sold. It could be a 0% loan, with a mortgage on it. And uh, again, it wouldn't have to be paid until the property is sold. And in that way, now the benefit to them is that when you make improvements to these units, you can add that to your, to arrive at your resale price down the road. So if you're selling, let's use, you're selling your unit for $100,000 and you've made, $25,000 in legitimate repairs to the property, you can add that to your resale price. So they would be getting, at sale, they would be getting that money back. So for us to do it as a loan, and the value of that is that we would be getting that money back ourselves. So it's sort of like a revolving fund in that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm okay with if you guys want to do that portion. I'm wondering, are they going to be able to? Let's say it's $25,000 a unit. Is there going to be that much of a? Is that much of an increase going to be allowed? I guess, because
Yes.
I was thinking my portion could be a grant, or I keep the property for 10 years or 5 years and it goes away.
Yeah. I mean, something like this, and I assume it would be done in a way that everybody has a percentage ownership in the condominium. So whatever the total price is, and the total estimate that we've gotten for this work to be done is like about $176,000.
Right.
So based on your percentage ownership in the condominium, that's what you would be assessed. That's what you would be borrowing if this loan idea that Andrew came up with was feasible. You'd be borrowing that money, but not having to pay it back until the property sold.
But wasn't Peter's question, right, Peter, was that in the eventual resale scenario where the resale price is capped,
Yep.
right? Because this next sale has to be an affordable transaction too. Would there be any, how could we count on there being extra money in that resale if it's capped to pay us back that extra 25,000?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the cap is determined by two things. First, if you bought the house, the condominium for $100,000 again, and what it's based on first is the increase, if any, in the local wage rate. That's how they determine what the property can be sold for at a later time. If the local wage rate increased by 10% after 2 years, then you can sell the property for $110,000 in that case.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
then also you can add on to that additional improvements to your unit or the entire building. In this case, everybody would have to contribute to this. It affects everybody. If that facade caves in, then it's everybody's problem, not just one unit owners. So that amount could be added to the resale price. And Andrew's point, and I totally agree with this, having an idea of what these units go for, it would still be very affordable at resale, even adding in the percentage for each unit to do this work, which would be somewhere around, $17,000 to $22,000, I think, per unit.
That's helpful. Thanks, Bob. And so this maybe we know the answer to this too. Like you used the word improvement. You said failing pins holding the bricks, Peter, I think was the way you put it, to the framing behind the facade. Does this type of emergency work meet the definition of an improvement, or is it really more of an emergency repair?
I think it does, Larry, and I have read the condo docs before on more than one occasion, and I believe that it does cover it, but I'd have to recheck that and go over that with Andrew. But I'm pretty sure that that would be covered. But it's a good question. It's not really an improvement. It's really maintenance, I guess.
You know what made me think of that? That's a CPC thing too. We learned last year when we applied. If you recall, we were reminded by the CPC folks that their money can be used for housing preservation, but not really repair work.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it just made me think in this case, is this an improvement or is this? I guess my other question too, maybe this is more for Pete, is does the city have access? And I think maybe the answer is no, but like to this emergency funding for something like this idea that the bricks could fall and someone could get hurt. And they've reached out to us whether we have the ability to respond with emergency funds or not. I don't think we do. But now it's sort of the way the engineer frames it. Pardon the pun. It sounds a little like a critical emergency moment. And I think you're right, Pete. We wouldn't want to wait to go through another cold season in winter. But does this have to be addressed more quickly than that as a public safety issue now that it's been raised and brought up? And if it does, is there any way the city could make funding available more quickly that we could take out later with CDBG funding and trust funding? It just feels weird to have them wait for our bureaucratic gears to turn to get them maybe the help they need later this summer or into the fall. It's a little scary to think the bricks are, in the meantime, in danger of falling.
Right.
So, Pete, sorry, that was a long-winded way of asking. Is there any emergency way? Yeah. Sorry.
So, no, that's okay. My plan, I could move it along faster. My thing is, CDBG could fund it now, and then if Affordable Housing Trust could pay CDBG back, they call it program income, so it comes back into the CDBG. So if it's quicker for me to do all 8 loans for 200 grand and push it that way, and then get reimbursed for some of it by the Affordable Housing Trust, we can probably make that happen.
So I was going to suggest too, it's similar to what we did with ARPA, where we made an award to the housing rehab program. So
That makes
if we could
sense.
run it through Pete and then make an award to pay CDBG back.
I think that's a great idea. That Pete and you and Alex together, we're so glad you're with us tonight, because I would love to be able to show the community that this board can be nimble, in addition to being thoughtful and doing those 6 projects last year, coming out of that to say, oh, and here's an earlier investment the city made in the 90s, and it's a fully occupied important resource, and it's got kind of a critical need. And we were also able to respond quickly and work with Pete and CDBG in the city. And I think, and then just to be able to address it more quickly as from a safety perspective feels much more comfortable. Yep. Alex, would it feel appropriate to you for us to how could we memorialize our intention to fund this, even though we're not there yet, so that Pete could go forth and try to help them more quickly, knowing our intention is to take this as a full application, say for 100,000 of the 200,000 at a later date, at the May meeting or at the July meeting. But
Can I
Can
just
we-
suggest
yeah,
that,
yes,
that given the nature of the timing here, that if we need to have an April meeting, we should have an April meeting to cover this.
Mhm.
sure, we could definitely do that.
Sure.
I mean, I think if we could have like just maybe not a vote, but an unofficial, like, do we all support this and have that in the meeting minutes? And then we can send them the application this week. In the meantime, he can get started through CDBG. And then we can meet again next month and actually score the application and go through the process.
Right. And I honestly think the application should be with the condo association. As like we do it with normal multifamily units, it's with the owner of the building. So we would call the condo association. They would, for my program, they would have to income qualify the tenants, which I'm sure they all will. And then when it comes to the individual loans, we'll do 8 individual loans. But if I think we can process it faster if we just do one application, because if I have to review 8 applications, it just takes a long time.
Sure.
Makes sense. Is
I've
it,
already
so,
so I've already been in touch with Lynn Kukuru, and she told everyone to be prepared that they may have to all take individual loans. Actually, she told them to be prepared to take individual loans with banks. So if we can move this along, more quickly doing it through this office, that's okay with me. Like I said, my big thing is budgeting, where I don't think my rehab department can foot the whole bill. It'll just have to be split up.
yeah, and I think that what I'm hearing from anyone who disagrees, feel free, please, to say so now. But I think we could take up a vote in April for $100,000 contribution toward a $200,000 overall award. And like Bob, Andrew's suggestion of 8 individual loans,
Yep.
I guess we would have to think, do we need to make then 8 individual awards, or could, as like Pete is saying, could we follow Pete's lead and make one award to the association for the $100,000? Or are we saying we would make an award internally to you, Pete? And that, I guess we have to figure out the mechanics of this.
The trust would make the award to the CDB, the housing rehab program with the city, just like we did in ARPA.
Okay. So we would essentially take up a vote after we look at their application to allow 100,000 of that 425 we have now to move over to CDBG to fund a $200,000 award. That sounds like that would mean we would not do the 8 individual loan idea that Bob talked about.
Then, that we can handle it all through housing rehab. Sounds like you're on board with that, Pete. And then for the trust's purposes, we're just making an award to housing rehab.
Yeah. Great. So does anyone want to kind of contribute on a discussion, or can we move on from this and we'll all agree that what this leads to is we will have a meeting in April. We will get this application up quickly. We will communicate to Lynn and their group what we talked about tonight. Pete, you or I can do that, and they'll be delighted to have a little bit of a sense of security of having the city and the trust partnering with them to help them here. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Right, I agree. So we're in the process of, once funding gets awarded, I have to do an environmental review. I'm talking program funding. Then we have to post the funding, the environmental review for 30 days. And then once that's done, I have to put a request in for release of funds with HUD. So the earliest that is going to happen anyways is for 2024 is April 7th. It'll go in like April 19th. It's a Monday, I think, or Friday. So we have a little leeway to get all the paperwork in order and figure out exactly how we're going to do this. I think we may have to do it all through CDBG, get it all recorded, and then you reimburse, because I can't take program income on something I haven't given out yet.
Yep. Well,
But
that makes
we'll
sense.
figure out the logistics.
And if we meet in April, that would be Monday, April 21st, Pete, that we would, because the trust always meets on the 3rd Monday of each month. So we would be holding this meeting again on Monday, April 21st.
Sounds good to me.
I'm just curious, Pete, based on your experience, typically would there be more than one estimate required? I mean, we've got this one estimate from this company.
Yeah, we're gonna
and-
have to get a second estimate.
Yeah, I would expect so, yep.
We prefer three. I've had a brutal time in the last 3 years getting 3 estimates on any project. So,
Tough, it's tough.
but we
Yep,
definitely need more than one.
Yep, good.
And Alex, it doesn't sound like, based on the way we've set this up, that the association, I'm just curious on your opinion on this, would actually need to complete the application that you're about to finish up, edit, and post on the website. Because again, this is an internal transfer of trust funding over to Pete's department. They don't need to apply to us in order for us to take a vote on that, right? I mean, we could,
That's right. I mean, we didn't do that when we did this with the ARPA funding. So yeah, it would be the same as before.
okay, great.
Good.
I just want to say I'm happy that we have the funds to be able to do a project like this, so, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Agreed.
Me too. Okay, Alex, you want to keep us moving? That was a great discussion. Thank you, Pete, for coming. And we'll work with you over the next month and we'll get this done. This is great. What's anything else that is new or that we wanted to
Sounds good.
discuss tonight? Yeah, is there anything else anyone else tonight wants to raise that would constitute new business? Where are we on time? We kind of went past the top of 6 o'clock. Anything else,
Everyone have a
Alex?
good night.
Yeah,
You too, Pete. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Pete.
Anything else from anyone else on the board? Alex, anything that you feel like we didn't get to?
Tom's got his hand up.
Just a quick question. I was curious about where the vacant lot is that's owned by the Gloucester Housing Authority on Main Street. I know that there was an issue with the title that I thought had been resolved.
So that's one of our ARPA projects, right, Tom? And we did fund it in the ARPA round. That is the project that is the parking lot. Yeah, the parking lot next door to Nelson's. And now that Bob is unrecused himself, or we should say you could be unrecused now, that's over with. What do you know, Bob, the latest with the project, how they're doing in terms of moving ahead?
Yeah, the title problem has been resolved. Do you know where Nelson's clothing store is, Tom?
I have bought numerous articles of clothing, some I'm wearing right now from Nelson.
There you go. So if you're facing Nelson's from Main Street, it's that lot right on the right of that, backs up to like a wall, cliff type of thing. But it's that vacant lot right next to Nelson's. That's a lot, 29 units. And what was the other question on that?
Well, you said they cleared the title up.
Yes.
Is this going to be it's going to be a low income housing tax credit deal where they have to go in for their tax credits? Right?
Yes, yep. And they're in the process of doing that. What is it? The one step, they call it?
Yeah.
They're in the process of doing that, and it's moving along well, as far as I know.
That was the big issue, Tom, right? Was the title issue. So they've cleared that up, which is great.
My studio I rented is in the Brown building, and I live at 20 Gloucester, 20 Eastern Avenue. So I walk past it back and forth every day. So I can't wait to see, construction ongoing.
Yeah. Oh, terrific.
I mean, this is the frustrating part of affordable housing development. We'll have to wait a bit, Tom, because they'll likely have to go through 1 or 2 rounds of asking the state for credits and getting denied, but told to come back because it's a queue and it's oversubscribed. So we may not see hammers and chisels for a little while, but we will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone else before we close the meeting off for the night?
I do want to just point out that we still have like several meeting minutes that are not up online. And I don't know how we can get that resolved. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. There's like 6.
Oh, that
sets of-
many, my Lord. Well, what we've been doing obviously is recording them. Deanna, you have
I can resend. I think I may have all of them. I think one of them Bob might have done. But
Oh,
I
you
think
mean
he
these are-
emailed that around, so.
Oh, they're
I think
completed
they've all been
minutes.
approved. I
Oh,
think
sorry.
we've approved them all.
Yep.
We just need to get them up on the website.
Mhm.
Did you send them to me, Deanna?
I believe so, but I can
Okay.
resend them. I'll just
Okay.
resend them all.
Okay, I'm
I'll make a
sorry
note.
if I missed
Might have been a
that.
big file.
Yeah.
Yeah, apologize if I missed that. Checking.
Some of them actually could have been prior to you, so in all fairness, I don't think really they're it may not be your thing. It may have been it may have been in that gap between directors or the previous one.
Okay,
And I just want to
well,
say thank you to Deanna, who's been
yeah,
faithfully
thank you.
serving as secretary for a long time,
Mhm.
doing the minutes. We appreciate it.
I just want to make sure that the public sees that we're being transparent, so.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's important.
So I will
Well,
send them all that are missing that I have copies of to you.
Okay, we'll get that up this week.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Deanna. Thank you.
Great,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you.
All right. Well, so it sounds like we did a lot of good work tonight. Thank you all. And we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
So moved. Great. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you in April and we'll get the agenda posted and have a lovely St. Patty's Day evening.
Yeah, you too, Larry. Thank you. Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
all.
Thank
Wait,
you,
do we
everybody.
need to do a motion to adjourn?
Didn't I just do that or no? I make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Okay.
All
Good night,
right,
all.
Thank you.
good
Thanks.
night.
Bye-bye.